Okay, motorcycle was passing by, so I had to pause it. So what I did was I visited all the private school, both public private school, A school total participants, probably around a little bit more than 1,000 students, 1,100, 200, I guess, participants. And what I did was, it's running short, and just to get the appeal of what I was able to do, basically what I did was the running from the, I believe, grade 3 to grade 11. Yes, it's basically, except that 3 years out of 12 years, 3 minus 3 years, basically 9 years, cover all sorts of math material. What they, both the private, public school, what they normally took 30, 45 days, 1 to 1.5 months materials, let's say 30, 40 days, 1 to 1.5 months the necessary materials of mathematics using their textbook, etc., textbook of all kinds. And basically what I did was I made them learn mathematics in one class with me in 30, 40 minutes to learn what normally take 30, 40 days, let's say. You go and calculate the proportion of the math. So there is a pilot study for each class. Before then, there was my pilot study. There were typically like a few days before exam, and after then exam. Basically, natures are quite similar. So we can see the jump of the students, right? And all the math teachers, before we ran this pilot study, they agreed I'm covering like 30, 40 days of material in 30, 40 minutes of one class. What's shocking was basically all students, the average score is not 100%, but more or less 90%. They basically got what they needed 30, 40 days in one class with me. 1 to 3 days later, when they took the test, this is what happened. And the problem was, it's too crazy to believe. And then the Ministry of Guatemala, I bothered them repeatedly. I got invited to them. I got summarized and they shared the evidence, etc. They were supposed to come next day and do all the survey and the investigation. Nobody came. The first betrayals, and one after another. After then, I abandoned the Guatemala Ministry of Education totally. But it's a sad part, but this kind of thing repeatedly happened way too often, so I totally abandoned Guatemala. It's a sad truth, but my point is not the betrayals or abandonment or things like that. My point is this kind of thing really happened. And then I did, for the original was the US, Unified Super Learning USL part, it was painful for me to accept that got betrayed everywhere. And I even then, a couple of years later, I believe, then I tried about 20, 30 math worst states of the United States, the Department of Education. I knew they had an extreme shortage of quality teachers and everything, and they are flunking decade after decade of the NAEP every 2 years, similar to PISA in the United States. Still, basically, I went nowhere, and it was impossible to deal with. I'm just giving you the context because during this time, I really wake up to not to trust the ministries or government in general, because ask yourself, if somebody can do this kind of thing, all the testimonials, evidence from the directors of the school, etc., you got betrayed right and left, and the total silence and whatever. It's really painful, you know what I'm saying, yeah? So basically there is that, and the second part was not the USL. I got sick of it. And nobody could believe it because it's impossible. Think about it. In this speed of, let's say, everybody learned the 30, 40 days material literally in the one class, let's just get it. Average IQ students in Mexico, Guatemala, whatever part of the world, if we extrapolate a little bit, basically that means every intelligent student, let's say grade 1 to grade 10 years of math you can learn it in less than one semester, basically no more than 2-3 months, maximum 4 months. So half semester, one semester, if you can learn the damn 10 years of math, you got the idea. What's the scary part is, when in retrospect, what is the scary part is, you can give me the best super mathematics genius over the past 100 years, every part of the world, and at least for the regular school curricula, and try to find out how the fastest thing they could learn. They usually take several years. Meaning, in the approximation, how can I possibly make average intelligent students in Guatemala and Mexico, including the best in their best schools, etc., including the worst school too? Whatever the variation may be, the result is, well, I could make average students in at least Oaxaca, Mexico, and Guatemala learn math probably 7-10 times faster than the fastest super genius of mathematics, at least for the past 100 years or beyond. Obviously, nobody could believe it. So this wouldn't work out. So I abandoned my original plan of USL, and its abuse is more rampant. Everybody was, during the pilot study, again and again, a lot of teachers, including the directors, obsessed about the stealing me methodology approaches instead of, you got the idea, no? So this is the painful part, and then I move into the little bit more interesting story. Then the next about several years later, I tried something about 10 to 20 times slower than my original version. So instead of USL, I call it mini USL, MMU. I call it MMU, MU. MMU 1, and what I did was, instead of super fast to get the same result, what takes 30, 40 days, that kind of thing, my second approach was to get the students who are I got a little bit very disappointed by the public schools, and again, too many betrayals. So I picked the 2 private schools in Guatemala, Momotenango in Solola. In the state of Solola, the participating school for example is ETEC. ETEC is considered the #1 private school of the entire state. So to make myself look a little bit better. So what we did was pilot study run like 1 to 2 months, not 1 to 2, 1 day, 1 to 2 weeks, and one in the Momotenango was the private school in the, I believe, grade 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, something like that, and did that, and ETEC was the junior high school and middle school. So basically, what I did was I took each school. There is a math worst half, math best half, right? Math best half stayed with their math teacher. I took the math worst half, and during the 1 to 2 weeks experiment pilot study, I raised the average of a math worst half, CDF student, rise more or less equivalent to the AB C plus student average. So statistically speaking, that is like half of the worst math half is like a 23 third percentile average to whatever, you got the idea. Basically, rule of thumb, every 25 percentile to 75 percentile, something like that. Statistically speaking, if you don't understand, you can just skip this part, but basically what I'm saying is, statistically speaking, this is roughly equivalent to advancing 1.35 standard, theoretically 1.34 standard deviation, rising up in the 1 to 2 weeks. Again, before me, they are only familiar with their teacher, math teacher. I used all sorts of textbooks and the public, private, their pedagogy, their curricula, 0% relevance for me. Basically, I took them and make it happen. Again, this time, I tried to slow down 10 to 20 times, okay? And still this happened. So because the earlier one was too scary, and I expected this one will be still reasonably slow, not to scare off everybody. That's what I hoped. And at least slower than the best method, super genius of the history, slower than them. So of the time probably slower than them. So I thought that this may work, not scare everybody. I was wrong again. I tried, after then, especially with this MMU one, I tried to solicit like a 25 US states, southern US states, the math worst states with the worst problem. Basically, only one got responses. All I got was all this bureaucracy. So that was going nowhere, and basically then I abandoned it. I solicited the Ministry of Education of Germany, France, etc. At least got the New Zealand, Australia, and Germany. At least I got the response. But again, the bureaucracy issue, and I thought I didn't want to waste time for the bureaucracy, so that was the end of story, and I didn't bother. So I abandoned the whole thing past 6 years or so. Then about several months ago, accidentally, I discovered new results of publication of the PISA 2022. And most of you who see this video this week also will be from the richer 10 to 20 country, most likely, because I got tired of at least Central America developing country. I don't ignore them, but I had enough betrayals, which I don't want to repeat again. So in this country, at least if you talk about the Western European country, if you look at the data, at least the PISA over the past 20 years, you see the massive decline, math, or collapse, even before the pandemic. So the average, basically, what I can roughly bulk figure of this 10, 15, 20 Western European or offshoot Western countries, basically over the past 10 to 20 years, average, they lost about 2 years equivalent of math education. Instead of 2 years advancing, 2-year decline. And again, I don't want to offend the ministers of education of entire this country, but I think you really need to consider total alternative, because I'm saying at least 90% of the Western countries, Western OECD country, totally failed. And the sad part is after my MMU one, my focus more have been reducing math poverty as much as possible. What is my definition of math poverty? My definition of math poverty is basically equivalent to PISA level below level 2, basically below basic, which means even if they graduate from their school, even if they go to the university, if you don't even get the 420, below 420 in the PISA math level, that means you cannot contribute to the modern forms of economy. You cannot get the job using the modern economy. So you could do the physical level, etc. You can do it, and perhaps you can cook, etc. You can make clothes, things like that. But modern form of economy, their contribution level is simply not going to happen. And why is it important? As you know, over the past 10, 15 years, including the World Economic Forum, etc., they have focused on they expected the arrival of the artificial intelligence to wipe out a lot of the labors around the world. So they focus keyword over the past more than 10, 15 years have been reskilling. What you need to be aware is, about a few years ago, I did my investigation. Conclusion is, entire OECD level countries, reskilling completion rate happen to be less than 5%, 2, 3, 4% range. It doesn't matter, United States, Germany, UK, Australia, New Zealand, you got the idea, France. And the reskilling completion rate is reasonably below 5%, basically doomed, yeah? And so this is kind of the sad thing I need to remind you. And so my focus is, if you're going to reskillable, my focus is reskillable, at least make everybody, all your students, at least 70, 80, 90% of your students, at least make them reskillable. If you flunk the math at the level of math poverty, forget about the reskillable. And my solution is, my proposal to all of you is, let me jump in, because you cannot solve the problem. If you track record of more than 20 years, you are 99% certainty you are going to fail to reduce the math poverty. Let me jump in and resolve the problem. Yeah, so there is no other way. So the math poverty level, and I'm sharing, because next video I'll talk about it. I have entire data. It's totally just the next video I'm going to talk about math poverty, and I move on. And the time is running out for this video. Thank you very much, and continue on. Yeah, great. Thank you very much.